Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the annual WiSys Quick Pitch competition here at UW-Stout. After shifting to a virtual competition in the last couple of years, it's exciting to return to an in-person event today. My name is Evelyn Olsen, and I am the Event and Program Coordinator at WiSys. For those of you not familiar with WiSys, we're an independent, non-for-profit supporting organisation of the UW system and serves as the Technology Management Office of the comprehensive campuses. We are pleased to partner with the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs of UW-Stout, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank Chela and Anne for all the support and efforts of this year in planning this event. So what is the WiSys Quick Pitch? The competition aims to encourage innovative thinking and entrepreneurial thinking by inspiring students from all academic disciplines. So we do like to point out that it's not just STEM. We really do encourage students from the, sorry, my brain has gone blank. Students from the
non-STEM.
That's a good word for it. To participate as well, and I'd really like to encourage a development on that side more as we go. From all academic disciplines to consider the impact of their research and how their findings could one day benefit the economy and or society, to really put the why behind what they're doing. In other words, they're not just here to spend parents' money and actually be doing something worthwhile. Presenters will describe their research in 3 minutes or less, and they will be judged based on overall quality of their pitch, in particular their ability to keep us in the time limit, as well as the ability to articulate the topic of their research in lay terms, discuss the problem or unmet need that is being addressed by their research, share the importance of their findings, and to draw conclusions as to how their research may impact the economy and or society. Recently, all presenters attended a coaching workshop or received one-on-one feedback on their pitches. Students will be competing for cash prizes today, and taking home the first place prize is $300 and second place is $125. Speaking of winners and judges, I would like to take this time to introduce the esteemed panel of judges. We are pleased to have joining us today. Catherine P. Frank is the 8th Chancellor of the University of Stout. Chancellor Frank joined Stout in early 2020 with an academic background in bachelor's, master's, and doctorate degrees in English. Her research interests include Romantic and Victorian English literature, rhetoric and composition, the scholarship of teaching, and academic leadership. Right now, Kevin Drzowski is the interim Associate Dean of the College of Arts, Communication, Humanities and Social Sciences at UW-Stout. Dr. Drzowski academic background is in English composition and creative writing. He is also taking part in a faculty creative writing panel later this afternoon as part of the Research Day oral presentation. You're invited to join at 2:30 upstairs in the Great Hall. Anne Holtke is the Director of the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs at UW-Stout. She recently completed a Doctor of Education degree. Dr. Holke manages extramural funding, institutional gifts, agreements and contracts related to the academic programs, among other issues. Her office has organized today's Research Day events and supports student research by providing grants and helping students attend professional events like Research in the Rotunda, UW Symposium, and the National Conference for Undergraduate Research to disseminate their results. And Dr. Hulke also works with me on grants that allows some of your professors to do further research. So I get to see a lot of her on email, unfortunately.
Yes.
Thank you all for volunteering your time out of your busy schedules to take part in this event. All students who participated in today's competition are guaranteed a scholarship to attend Spark 2022, formerly known as WSTS or the Wisconsin Science and Technology Symposium. The Spark Symposium is scheduled to be held this summer in La Crosse, and the winner will have the opportunity to represent UW-Stout and compete in the state final, which will be held during the symposium. This is a great opportunity for students as they have a chance to showcase their research to an audience of over 200 peers from throughout the state. And hopefully you've all had a chance to have something to snack on, because this pitch competition has a lot of food talk going on. And I've had some pitches where it's been about cars that drive themselves and cows and economics, but this one's about food. So hopefully you're not hungry. All right, now on to the main show. We are going to start with William.
Can I just
Yes.
have the People's Choice Award too? So I
Yes.
just wanted the audience to be aware of that.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. I just didn't want to forget it.
The People's Choice Award, is also sponsored by the by Anne's office.
Of course.
Our RSP office. And at the end of this, you'll have the opportunity, you will have received a little slip of paper. You will have the opportunity to vote for your favorite pitch. And we encourage you to vote for that. So please do listen up for the one that you think is your favorite pitch. We're going to start off with William.
My name is William Kunkel, and I'm a mechanical engineering student at UW-Stout. I am working on identifying policies to promote high-performance computing in undergraduate education throughout Wisconsin. A high-performance computer is essentially a collection of computers all working together. In other words, it's a modern supercomputer and a tool that can analyze large amounts of data quickly. High-performance computing is becoming increasingly used in industry, especially within manufacturing. And currently, Wisconsin has no framework in place to train undergraduate students how to utilize this resource. Since manufacturing plays a large role in Wisconsin's economy, it's important that this sector continues to utilize innovative tools to help them maintain a competitive edge. One emerging trend in industry is for companies to collect large amounts of data about their processes, then analyze this data to make improvements. Well, how do you analyze large amounts of data quickly? You utilize high-performance computing. With the role of this tool, with the importance of this tool growing rapidly, it's important to look at how education is responding to this change. Are students being exposed adequately? Do faculty have the resources they need to train students? And are university administrators aware of the challenges associated with this endeavor? To answer questions like these, I, as part of a 3-campus research team, have collected survey responses from about 1,800 undergraduate students, 500 teaching faculty, and 120 individuals from industry. We also conducted interviews with about 15 university administrators. These responses will turn into a report containing policy recommendations made to the Tommy Thompson Center on Public Leadership and will focus on how to incorporate high-performance computing into undergraduate education. The report will be completed by June of this year. Although data analysis is ongoing, we do have some preliminary findings. University administrators seem aware of the need for exposure to tools such as this and emphasize the need for equitable access to computing resources. Our surveys also show that 75% of faculty who have the desire to utilize this tool in their teaching lack the curricular materials needed, and 1/3 of industry personnel who reported that their companies don't use high-performance computing said this was because they lack the expertise needed. Our report will focus on addressing issues like these. It will be a step towards securing a strong economy for Wisconsin.
I have a question. So how did you disperse your survey?
We used Qualtrics,
Okay.
and that was, I guess, how we sent it. And then we sent it through emails that we got through, we contacted campuses for their contact information. So different campuses had different protocols for how we obtain like student and faculty emails. So we reached out to each campus and then followed their procedures.
I missed your research partners. You said 3 institutions?
Yeah, we're working with UW-Eau Claire and River Falls.
So at this stage, you may still be analyzing data, analyzing responses, but do you see this moving toward any policy recommendations for education?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, our deliverable is a set of policy recommendations. I guess I can't say what they are right now because we're really collecting the data, and I did some early analysis to, to be able to use some statistics. So after finals end, we're gonna really analyze the data heavily.
John?
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Sadhana.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Sadhana Thokasichu. I'm an international graduate student here in UW-Stout. I'm currently majoring in food science and technology. My research advisor is Dr. Pranabindu Mitra. So the global food waste management market is anticipated to be valued at $62.6 billion in 2022. The future market index has projected that there will be a significant growth of food waste management market of 6.4% from 2021 to 2032. The waste grain that is produced from barley processing in brewery industry is almost produced of 320 billion tons every year globally. But it is mostly utilized in the landfill or the animal feed. It has great potential to be utilized in the food processing sector because of its nutritional composition. It consists of almost 24% of protein and also 60 to 70% of fiber in it. So therefore, the objective of my research is to utilize the maximum amount of barley spent grain in developing the breakfast cereal. This could be a great alternative to the carbohydrate-rich cereals which are available in the market currently. So 5 formulations from 0 to 20% of variation of barley waste grain has been utilized and mixed with the composite flour that is made of soy, rice and quinoa. And it has been extruded using the single screw extruder. Extrusion is a technology of cooking food using high temperature and also high pressure. The results showed that up to 20% of barley waste grain can be utilized in developing a healthy breakfast cereal that could have a great potential in the market. The optimization of the formula is being based on the physicochemical properties, the nutritional parameters, and the sensory properties of the final product to determine the consumer acceptability. Finally, to conclude, the findings of my research are useful for developing healthy alternative breakfast cereal to cut the carbohydrate-rich cereals which are present in the market, and this could be a great sustainable solution for the brewery industry where they can utilize the food waste and make it a value-added product. Thank you.
So can you tell me a bit more about how you gauge the you said acceptability of consumers? How you determine whether they would find it acceptable?
Yeah, I have conducted a sensory evaluation with age group of 18 to 25 in our university. Almost 40 participants were that day they were present, and up to 20% of I have utilized 0 to 30% of barley waste grain, where 20% of waste grain is found to be acceptable in parameters of taste, texture, color, and everything.
Do you have a question?
I was thinking.
I was thinking too. So I'm trying to understand a little bit more. Did you work with local brewers?
Yes, they are the ones who supplied me the raw material of the barley waste grain because they also feel that that is the potential waste that can be converted into value-added product so that they can make money with the waste also.
And like how much do they produce a week? Just say that is.
That's based on the production capacity, but annually it's almost 320 million tons that is produced globally, the barley waste.
Okay.
Because that's the main waste that is produced in the brewery industry and it does not have any use.
And where do they right now put their waste?
Yeah, they generally throw it in a like landfill, which gives so much of carbon footprint, or as an animal feed.
Okay.
Have you faced any sort of what you see as major challenges or reservations?
Yeah, sure. The barley waste grain has a typical dark color. When we incorporated that into the cereal, that impacts the color of the food. That's a major concern if you try to increase the level. Other than that, everything is fine.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good.
Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Logan Willits and my research entailed looking at the effects of federal funding on senior students' ability to look at or to attain college. So first I got interested in this research because over a couple summers ago, I was able to work for a book distribution company, and that book distribution company distributed authentic Spanish books to dual language schools, which are schools that teach on more than one language. So why is this important? Basically, one, having an educated workforce, so students and children that learn more than one language as an educated workforce will help our economy overall with innovation, as well as that's important for the UW system to look at areas that might need in need of additional improvement and seeing where all the senior students are coming from for the different colleges distributed in Wisconsin. So first, with my research, I did a regression analysis, which is looking at the relationship between two variables. In this case, I looked at Title III funding, which is federal funding that is going towards bilingual education programs, and looking at senior students' ability to go to college. So whether that be a 2-year school, a 4-year school, or a tech school. And after this, I found that there's other control variables in it as well. But overall, I found that there was a small but positive effect for students to for more money going towards that college education. So I also found that this effect was seen in more urban areas than rural areas, which makes sense because more migration patterns and immigration patterns of people. And then as well as that, I did a secondary analysis locating where these school districts are at. So I compared areas that have a high English language learner student concentration and areas that are not receiving a proper amount or adequate amount of Title III funding. And I found that there was 11 school districts in need of additional help or support, and these school districts are where help should be first implemented. So overall, I found that there was a small but positive effect on Title III funding on students' ability to go to college, and this was seen in more urban areas than rural areas. And in future research, I would like this to go towards basically how school districts are distributing their funds, because this could also be more of a district allocation problem than a federal funding problem at hand. So more research should be going directed to that route. Thank you. Any questions?
So where did you get your data from?
So first I got from the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction. So on their website, a lot of data mining, organizing everything and seeing how things manipulate, as well as for my control variables, I looked at publicly available data that the census had or the Wisconsin Department of Administration had, all of those websites along that route.
So the students' ability, so senior students, seniors in high school, their ability to go to college or ability to get, you're talking purely in financial terms, correct?
Correct.
College readiness also measured.
Oh, correct. So that route, it was more so like, I looked at like the amount, like how well the students are like going to college. So I just compared the rates that were going to college and people that didn't go to college, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
And so just to follow up on that question, do you see, you're confident in sort of your financial analysis and application, but do you feel like there's other variables then that need to be taken into account to better understand, I guess, the complexity, right?
Yes, correct.
Of students' decision-making in terms of being able to attend college and what route they're going to take?
Yes, so there are a lot of variables as this is a social issue at hand, but for this research specifically, I just my model attempted to look at just that effect of funding on it. So it was a small but positive, but there's more variables at hand that play into that account as well. Awesome,
Yeah,
thank you.
Daniel.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel. I do go by DJ. I am a student in the Applied Social Science Department. And my research was on the COVID-19 vaccine, specifically looking at Dunn County. In 2020, everything changed and we experienced a once-in-a-century pandemic. The vaccine quickly became the way that we would come out of this pandemic. But when the vaccine became widely available last year, the uptake, especially in counties like Dunn County, was a lot lower than was initially estimated. This causes a problem when we're trying to move out of the pandemic. And so my research wanted to study why people in Dunn County may have hesitated to receive the vaccine, and also why people that did get the vaccine chose to get it. So I conducted an in-depth survey with a half dozen people in the area, people I knew through connections, to get their feelings on the vaccine. And as I was researching and talking with these people, having long conversations, 45 minutes, hour, maybe longer, it became apparent that the main factor came down to trust. Trust in government institutions, trust in organizations that before COVID-19 were widely considered very respectable and above ill repute. And so per the statistics in Dunn County, about 50% of people had been vaccinated when I was doing my research. And it was about half and half when I was talking to the people that I did my surveys with. So looking back on this research is very crucial for future policymakers, politicians, and government officials when formulating their plan for the next disaster, whether that is a pandemic or something else, because it will be key to understanding the mentality and beliefs of these Americans who did not get the vaccine in order to restore trust, in order to have an effective future response to whatever will come next. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take your questions.
DJ, if you had the chance, how do you think you would expand your research project?
I would really have loved to have been able to do both more interviews with people and also do a quantitative component to it, because obviously qualitative, which is what the purpose of my project was, it's very limited, talking, like I said, to 5, 6, 7 people. It's really hard to get a good sample, but I believe a good mixture of talking to people through these in-depth interviews and broader surveys, like through Qualtrics, would be a good way to expand.
So I know these were interviews, and you probably had a variety of responses, but for those participants who did express that their trust in institutions was shaken, not as great as it could be, what was impeding them? Why do they have trust concerns?
Yes, so like a lot of things, what went to it is the wide explosion of easily accessible information on the internet. Social media laid the groundwork for a lot of this. Therefore, it automatically began to degrade the trust that everyone would have once venerated in these institutions. And in terms of the pandemic specifically, a lot of reference was made to the quote flip-flopping of officials in places like the Centers for Disease Control and National Institutes of Health. Specific names were mentioned, names that we all have become very familiar with at the highest levels were named in some cases in not the pleasantest manner. So that is why.
So I think you said you interviewed a half a dozen people.
Yes.
So small population.
Yes.
So 2 things. Do you think that your results would have been different had you had a larger group of individuals that you were interviewing? And also, do you think that there was any was there a political similarity with the people that you did interview?
Yes, so for the first part of the question, if I had stayed in Dunn County, I have a feeling that if I interviewed certain demographics, it would skew one way or the other. I feel that the more I did it and the more I dispersed to different demographic groups, I have a feeling that it would have ended up being fairly similar, just because based on how many people had taken the vaccine at the time. However, I would say that it's possible that the more stringent opposition might not always have been there. Some people might have been less that and just, I don't see the need for it because I work from home or what have you. And I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
I just wondered, I mean, in part of your survey, did you ask for a political representation?
I did not ask people that, but through some of my questions, because I had quite a few lead-in questions to get to the core of it, and people's political leanings certainly did start to come out. And probably not a huge surprise, people that leaned right and right of center on the political spectrum were the ones that were not as likely to receive the vaccine, opposite going leftward on the political spectrum. So, thank you again.
Joshua.
Hello, my name is Josh Burden. I am currently a graduate student here at the University of Wisconsin-Stout, majoring in food science and technology under Professor Mitra. According to the USDA, over $1 billion of cranberries have been produced in Wisconsin last year alone. According to the USDA, 30 to 40% of cranberries are being wasted. My research focuses on cranberry pumice. Now, cranberry pumice is the byproduct of cranberry production, specifically juicing of cranberries. The pumice itself is the fibrous material left behind. As you guys can probably tell, when you guys go to Thanksgiving and everything, all of that nice juicy stuff you get in your cranberry sauce and everything, that's what's missing out. Now, with the cranberry pumice and everything, there's fiber and antioxidants, which makes it a very minerally rich substance that can be used in other food processing. The objective of my study is to bring Wisconsin economic and industrial growth through cranberry pumice, extrusion, and frying. Extrusion, like stated before, is when you shove a product through a small hole at a high temperature and a high pressure in a short amount of time, and it bursts out kind of like a Cheeto. Frying, of course, is like deep frying, like a little French fry. Now, with cranberry pumice having all of these other things, I put it in a base of soy flour and rice flour in ever increasing amounts to find what formulation works best. I took the physical qualities and also the nutritional qualities. The physical qualities were things like expansion factor, like how big does it burst out of the extrusion. And the nutrition is everything you'll look at the back of a nutrition label: fiber, protein, antioxidants, carbohydrates, all of that. With my research concluding, it goes as the cranberry pumice increases with concentration, so does the fiber and antioxidants. Now, one of the cool things that came from this research was, as I fried it, it seemed as the cranberry pumice increased, the oil absorption decreased. That is very key to have a really healthy snack of a byproduct, something that can help put into other things like chips or Cheetos to make it so it's a lot healthier. You get the extra fiber and the antioxidants, but you also get the added benefit of not that much oil, and you see it all those physical characteristics that you love in like a French fry or that Cheeto. Now, with cranberry pumice having all of these great minerally rich things, it makes it a very valuable product. Instead of farmers bringing those and paying someone to bring it to the feed or bring it into the landfill, they can use this to have a better economic and industrial growth within Wisconsin. Thank you. Questions?
You see how much oil to see the less and less and less oil that you need to.
So in the study, I had 3 different product formulations that I originally did. Every single one of them I had to put in and take out every 5 seconds, and then take the oil content and do all of that. So it probably took me, I was thinking maybe around 150 or so data points to be able to figure out where it plateaus and where it stops, so that you can see the linear, like the regression goes up, the plateau a little bit beneath the next one, and a little bit underneath. So you can make the conclusion that with the added cranberry pumice, it decreases.
Any considerations in terms of, because you named known products and other such things, any considerations with regard to taste or some, the experience of consuming?
Yes, so we also did a sensory analysis on this. And what we found out was I added stuff, so it wasn't quite like a Cheeto. Instead, it was deep fried, so it was a little bit more dense. But I added like Cajun spices as well as like a mushroom umami, kind of like a chicken and biscuit type flavor. And it showed that no one could really pick out any cranberry flavor, which is good, because using that and adding that to products like Cheetos that have that awesome taste, that's just right out of like the bag. You want that Cheeto taste. It's good to be able to supplement those. So farmers can go to Cheetos, or Frito-Lay, and hey, I have this product you can add. They can make your product, whatever amount healthier, like 2 times healthier, and you have the same product and the same everything. But then you can market toward, like, say, like children, a little bit more of an applicable stance and have a better nutrition label on there, because everyone's focusing on nutrition right now.
That leads into my question. So you gave us some examples of products this is a little bit similar to, but also different from. You talked about the sensory experience of it. I was wondering about the perception of what people think of this, and it sounds like that is coming from cranberries, from the cranberry pumice, and this is to be emphasized. Any indications yet of like how people would react to this, hearing this is where it comes from? Do they think of that? Does that lead them to think this must be a very healthy snack and therefore it's my one purchase?
Yes. Again, like cranberries, everyone thinks of cranberry juice. That's pretty much what everyone goes to, or that or cranberry sauce during Thanksgiving. But like you said, everyone really thinks cranberries, nutrition, it's awesome for you. And now I'm trying to prove that.
Have you talked to any cranberry industry?
I have a little bit. I talked to a cranberry farmer just in passing. I didn't know who he was or what he was talking about. He goes, "Oh yeah, I do cranberries in northern Wisconsin." I'm like, that's where my project started, really. And he goes, "Oh yeah, you should check it out." It was really fleeting, but most of the time I just said, "Oh, what do you guys do with all your waste? What do you do with the product after you squeeze the juice out of it?" He goes, "Well, we kind of throw it away or we give it to the cattle or the pigs, honestly. Otherwise, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of effort for no real gain." Most of the time you feed something to cattle, like Sadhana said, most of it needs to be protein. That's what cattle needs. Fiber is just something to supplement their diet. Otherwise, it takes up a ton of landfill space, and it's just not really worth it. Yep. Thank you.
Please excuse me if I don't get this one right. Oh, no. Is it Monik?
Hello, my name is Monica Barrel and I'm a graduate student at University of Wisconsin-Stout, majoring in food science and technology. My advisor is Dr. Mitra. So in the last 2 to 3 years, the vegan product consumption in the market has increased from 0.3% to 3.5%, and around 30 million people in the US are lactose intolerant. So this shows us the trend that what the upcoming market or what the future in the food industry will be, and it will be definitely be uh, led by vegan products and healthier products. So the goal of my research study was to develop a vegan product that is not seen in the market. So to fulfill this goal, the objective of the study was to develop a vegan sparkling yogurt that is made from plant milk. So the major the carbonation gives better mouthfeel to the consumers, and it also decreases the pH, which helps to increase the shelf life of the product. Other than that, the carbonation is the major challenge that is seen in this product, which can be attained with a particular time and temperature. So we made around 13 different samples using CCRD with carbonation time and agar content as the variables. And the best yogurt was selected on the physiochemical properties, the rheological, and the sensory attributes of the product. Uh, and the yogurt with 10 minutes of carbonation and 1% of agar content was more preferable after the sensory analysis of the 13 yogurts. And this product can be foreseen in the future as carbonated ice cream yogurt or microencapsulated yogurts or carbonated Greek yogurts. And also, like yogurts are really demanding products in the consumer markets, and so this product, this innovation can be really acceptable by the consumers and is likely marketable. And also, this innovation not only gives us the diversity but also increases the acceptance and meets the consumers' demands in the market. Thank you.
So shelf life is something you addressed. What would be the shelf life of a plant-based yogurt like this, and how would that compare to regular dairy-based?
Yeah, so usually the yogurts do not have, like, the dairy products do not have much shelf life. Like it varies from, like, but it does not go more than a week or so. So what carbonation does is it decreases the pH particularly. So it decreases, like, usually the pH is around 6.5 or 7.6, around 6 or 7. So the carbonation brings down the pH between 4.5 and 5.5. So that would increase, like, that would help to increase the shelf life. And the studies can be done furthermore, because this was like the innovation was in the laboratory level. So as the production increases, or if this goes on to the plant scale or pilot pilot production, the shelf life studies can be furthermore done.
So you conducted sensory study?
Yes.
And so I'm just interested in the feedback there. I'm trying to imagine carbonated frozen yogurt. So, what was the sort of the feedback on that experience, the consumer experience there? And did it differ from something like a fermented, yogurt?
Yeah, so it definitely differed from the, because we had different agar percentages and different time of carbonation. So some of the some yogurts were carbonated for more than around 15 minutes or more than 12 minutes, somewhere for less than 5 minutes or more than between 5 and 10 minutes. So it also depends on what temperature is the carbonation taking place. So usually the carbonation does take place at 4 degrees Celsius for any of the beverages or any of the products. So that makes it like more prominent, that makes it like acceptable.
And then was there feedback there on what was preferred then?
Yeah. So the one with the lower agar content showed more preference, because agar also kind of gives basically what agar does is it increases the viscosity or the thickness of the product. So that gives a bit of a chalkiness, because it's a almond milk, not the cow milk. So
That's my question too, is more of the taste. Would it be
So we actually added peach flavor to it. So it also will, if you do not have any flavor in it, it will, like, it's almond milk, so you have to give some flavor to it.
So then, I wasn't quite sure, did you say it was plant-based?
Yeah.
So what type of plants?
We actually used almond milk, so it's a, yeah.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Das?
Yeah. Marriage is a scam. I'm not referring to it as a social construct, but rather on the economic side of things. When people immediately think of marriage, they don't initially think of all the expensive costs associated with it. In our society, you think it's simply signing a paper at the start. But you look into the cost of the actual ceremony itself, you begin looking at things like getting a house, getting kids, and a lot more things frequently tend to pop up, and it's a big reason why a lot of people end up in debt. They enter an agreement they were not prepared for early on without a proper understanding of the financial implications associated with it. My name is Siddharth Tarari. I'm a student at UW-Stout, and I am researching the relationship between financial education and the age of marriage in our country. Financial education is not a very promoted field across our country. Of the 50 states, only 22 of them actually mandated in high school. Recently in Florida, making it the 23rd. Overall, financial education, it helps develop our financial mindsets. It's how we interpret the value of money and how we understand whether or not we have enough money to engage in an economic decision. In regards to marriage, a lot of people go in not understanding the full extent of the costs. I went out and sent out a survey to my fellow students attempting to understand how many people understand the importance of money going into marriage and how many people among them received a financial education earlier on with the intention of proving the positive relationship between the two factors. I ended up finding a positive relationship between the two, which proved to be statistically significant and showed that people who had a financial education earlier on in their lives were more likely to get married at a later age, with approximately 9.3% of them, 9.3% of the decision stemming from financial education. This is important because it proves the importance of financial education in making major decisions, not just in marriage, but in other factors as well, such as having kids and overall economic health. If you have financial education, you're more likely to make sound decisions, which overall improve your mental health and mindset in the long term. While otherwise, if you chose not to, it's more likely to enter debt because you didn't properly look at what is likely to happen if you made that decision. That's all. Questions. I forgot about questions. Yes.
Are you married?
No.
So I'm trying to understand how you pulled two sets of data and crossed them.
I conducted a logistical regression. I sent out a qualtrics survey, and I found out how people value financial education or finances in general when making the decision of marriage. So I gave them different options, whether or not they value it not at all, slightly, or greatly. And then I categorized those into two core groups of whether or not anything that was maybe or not, I just considered it no. Because if you want 100% sure, I didn't consider it as a factor. took that data and I referenced it as control variables, such as where you're born, your race, your age itself, and I compared the two, and we came up with an estimate of 9.27% more specifically through our model.
So for the financial cost of marriage, and conventional wisdom has, you'll in the long run, you'll save money because you'll have two people sharing costs together. You're talking mainly about the costs of the actual wedding ceremony, things like that, or are you actually talking about the whole all-encompassing ceremony plus long-term marriage?
Both, yeah. Long-encompassing plus the long immediate marriage. Because immediately, a lot of people spend a lot on their ceremony, which puts them in sometimes initial debt, or it makes it harder to make payments on things like a house. Because marriage isn't just an economic thing. You feel kind of socially pressured once you've entered a marriage to begin making other bigger decisions. And then there's the career marriage conflicts themselves, which is once you begin entering the workforce out of college, for example, which is why our core audience was college students, you begin looking towards should I enter marriage now? Should I wait because you want to focus on your career? There's a lot of monetary things that influence it.
Is there any existing literature out there already? Studies that have already been done that show that for young people that they struggle more financially if they are married compared to if they are single?
No, not in regards to that specifically. I did read a lot of research papers in regards to how people view finances when actually picking a partner in the first place, though. And the shifting gender roles and how a lot of people actually attribute that for the reason for the rising age of marriage across the country. It's slowly been shifting up and up from the early 20s to the later 20s now. A big part of that people initially thought was due to just people feeling like they're working more, but a big part of why people feel like they need to work more is because of financial restrictions, rising costs of college, and other such factors.
It seems as well that this could be a compelling argument for the integration of financial literacy as part of at least a curriculum at the high school level.
Yeah, we mainly asked two primary questions to differentiate. We tried to understand what people's course of study was to see if college major potentially impacted the mindset. So if you're a finance major, you're more likely to be familiar with those type of topics. And we asked specifically if they did receive a financial education in high school, so that we could understand if they had a prior background which may influence whether or not they felt that finance is important when making decisions in a marriage or not. We also looked at different financial education programs across the country, not just the fact that whether or not it offered it or not, because whether or not a school offers it can differ greatly in the quality. I think one of the more common programs is like Dave Ramsey's quick video disc. A lot of schools use that as a cheap, efficient way to get lessons across. Junior Achievement is another one that came up pretty frequently.
Thank you.
Never say never. Luke.
All right, that's for last. So, all right, my name is Luke Bickalt. I'm a master's student here at UW-Stout. My major is food science and technology, and with help with my advisor, Dr. Pranabendra Mitru, I studied the extrusion process of highly nutritionally dense cranberry-infused breakfast cereal. So in today's world, there's roughly 825 million people that suffer from a protein-deficient diet. 1,815 of those individuals do come from developing countries. Even worse yet, a lot of them do tend to be children. So on a separate note, in the cranberry world, a lot of the industry's byproduct is called cranberry pomace, which my colleague Josh had mentioned. It is either A, wasted or used in animal feed, which is not practical because of its low protein content. However, it is high in fiber and antioxidants, so it can be used as this very functional ingredient. So what this world really needs is a breakfast cereal that is low cost, highly nutritious in protein, fiber, and antioxidants, and has low sugar content, which I know a lot of breakfast cereals today, especially those catered toward children, have a lot of sugar, like 6,000 grams per box. Slight exaggeration, but you get the point. So my research objective was combining all these elements and producing a breakfast cereal that uses rice flour and varying concentrations of soy flour and cranberry pomace. And yeah, so with the 6 formulations that I used, we tested the physical properties such as expansion ratio, crispness, porosity, all these properties that are important in the sensory profile of breakfast cereals. So what my preliminary results showed that as you increase cranberry pomace, you decrease the porosity, the crispness, you increase hardness, all things that are not good for breakfast cereal texture. So based off all the research and statistical analysis, what we found is that our formulation 4, which was 45% rice flour, 40% soy flour, and 50% cranberry pomace, it still had retained that good texture profile of a breakfast cereal that most consumers want, yet it didn't sacrifice the protein that you get from the soy flour and the fiber and antioxidants in cranberry pomace. So all in all, we were able to develop this breakfast cereal. Hopefully one day it can be found throughout the world for rich and poor. So yeah, that was it. Questions?
So I'm learning a lot about cranberries.
Yes,
but,
yes.
Question about cereal market as a competitive space.
Yes.
So that's my first question is how, as you think about entering that competitive market with this type of product, besides the nutritional value, what else is going to set this apart? That's my first question. My second is, you haven't really talked about processing and expense, and do you anticipate that introducing this into the market will impact any component of the process that contributes to cost of production as you think about entering this space?
The second question, well, because rice flour, especially rice, is like the 3rd most cultivated plant in the world, and soy flour and cranberry pomace has been a product. So a lot of these are low cost. So ideally, it shouldn't be too hard to introduce into the market. The first question was, could you repeat?
Competitive space of the cereal market and how this is going to be,
Okay.
how this will stand out in that competitive space.
Yes, breakfast cereal is definitely competitive, and obviously a lot of today's food products, regardless of breakfast cereal, are trying to gravitate towards more nutritious breakfast cereal. There are whole grain breakfast cereals. I think obviously we are trying. I think sugar is sort of like the #1 aspect, because you do want to reduce the sugar amount, and obviously, ideally, this breakfast cereal would be more catered towards children and like sort of developing countries where all this can be accessible. So hopefully that answers. But so
This may be a silly question, but describe what the cereal looks like in its final form. Are we talking flakes, something more like rice looking like puffs?
no, that's a good question. So
Their term I use.
oh, I guess I forgot to mention all this is through extrusion. So once it comes out, depending on how the expansion ratio, how much it puffs up, it is just going to be like, I think of a good comparison breakfast cereal, like, I'm trying to think. It's literally like like half an inch, like little, almost cylinder shaped breakfast cereal. So, and obviously the more expansion ratio, it will look more like a cereal. So it doesn't look anything like, say, like cornflakes or maybe Rice Krispies, but like a little bigger than that. So so that's what it will look like.
And then what do you think you would name your cereal?
Oh, any suggestions? I don't know. We have to get there first. So maybe we'll name it after my advisor. So, yeah.
Thank you.